Now, what we'll do is just go through some words that you do know, okay, and we'll write them down so you can take them home and practice writing some words you already know so that you can start making associations with the consonants and vowels. And we'll go over a few writing rules while we do that, okay?
Once I do know something, take one.
Okay, Pete, first word. What do you know?
Sarangheyo.
Sarangheyo, nice. This is actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Sarangheyo means I love you. I'm glad you brought it up because what you said was sarangheyo, okay? Which means you've been learning phonetically. People will often write this lil, which I explained is a flick of the tongue. We don't have phonetics to write that. So the closest thing they use is an R, okay? Now, the R doesn't exist in Korean language. It's a flick of the tongue. So where people will say sarangheyo, and you'll see it spelt in books. Sarang, okay, it's really just leading people awry. I mean, it's getting you close, but not exactly where you want to be. So, sarangheyo has 4 syllables. So, it's going to have 4 blocks. Okay? Each block is just a syllable. Okay? The first word, sa.
The S one.
The shiat, right? The S, the shiat. And the, right, the ah. Right, exactly. When you're calling the vowels by their names, you can just say the actual sound.
Okay.
So you call it the ah, right? Okay, so the ah was vertical or horizontal?
Vertical.
Vertical, right. So it will go to the right of the consonant, okay? Now generally, I wrote these blocks because one thing that'll take a bit of practice, but not much, you'll get it pretty quickly, is making your blocks uniform, okay? Because a block can have anywhere from 2 characters, 2 letters, if you will, up to 4, okay? And you kind of always want to have them uniform. So it'll take a bit of practice, and that's why I'm writing the blocks like this. So we have sa, and we know this goes to the right. We know the vowel goes to the right. So we write our S, and then our ah. Okay. Sarang. So where you said sarang, it'll be a flick. Sarang. Sarang. Okay, that flick in there. Round. Round. What do you think we have? Sarang. The lil, the flick. And then?
The A again.
Right, the ah.
And then the NG.
And then the NG in the bottom. Good. Okay.
Why can't you put the lil underneath the sa?
Why can't you put the lil under here?
Yeah.
Just spelling. It'll sound the exact same, and actually that's a good point. Yeah, it's just the spelling of the word. The lil is just out there. Okay. So what we have here now, we have 3 letters in one block. Okay. Involving a vowel that is vertical, so it goes on the right. So what we're going to see is we're going to have our first consonant and our vowel on the right split the top. Okay? And then the third consonant comes underneath. Sarang. Okay? Another rule. Writing, you always have to start a block with a consonant, right? You always have to follow that consonant with a vowel. It'll always go consonant, vowel. Always. And then, it'll always go a consonant again. Okay? It'll always go consonant, vowel, consonant. Okay? Because each block relates to a syllable, you'll only ever have one vowel in a block. Okay. Next class, you'll see things like this, which look like two vowels, O and A, but it's considered a vowel combination. It's just one. Okay, it just brings out one sound. Okay. So we have this. This is vertical, goes to the right, and then we have one more consonant. We put it underneath. Okay. If we had a fourth consonant, okay, if we had a fourth letter, it would have to be a consonant. You only have one vowel. It would split down here. Okay? 사랑. sarangheyo. He. The H, okay? Right? We got this thing. The H. The here. And then we have he. E. Have we seen anything that sounds like E yet? On this, we haven't. Okay, we haven't learned an E. E is a vowel combination we'll get into next time. But good introduction here. What it is an A and an E. Okay? And if you were well, I'll get into that later. This A and E will sound like E. E. Okay? And I'll get into this and the other ones in more detail next time. But for all intents and purposes, E, as if you're going to say A, but again, don't finish it, just make that starting sound. E. E. Okay? Almost a short E sound, in between a short E as in pet, and a short A as in cat, almost in that little middle ground there. Okay? E. E. Okay? So we have an H plus that. This is vertical, same rule will apply. Okay, we only have two he, just split it. He. Okay. There is another vowel combination, since we mentioned this one, we'll mention the other one, where the tick is on the inside, it's an O-E. Okay, for all intents and purposes, they sound the same. E, E. Okay? And again, get into more detail next time. But if you're ever wondering which one is it, if you're clarifying, again, you just use the name of the vowels as the name. O-E, A-E. That's that. That's those combinations. This is an A-E, that is an O-E. Okay? He, sarangheyo. Yo, okay, our politeness. Okay? So, yo is horizontal or vertical? Up and down, left or right?
Horizontal.
Right, okay. We have horizontal. So the rule is the consonant will go first and this will go where? Underneath. Okay. And again, we're just filling this whole block with just those two things. Okay, so you can make it quite big. Okay. Just a side example, a counter example. If we did have one more consonant, then they would basically just split it in thirds. Okay. They would basically just split it in thirds. Okay? This is yong. Yong. Which is dragon. Wicked.
Awesome. Stop the class, I love it.
Okay.
Went for ninja. I get that part.
They probably have another word. But they always understand ninja. So, there you go.
Ninja dragon part.
So this is I love you. Okay? sarangheyo. Okay, and that flick would be the important lesson I'm saying here. Sarang. Okay? sarangheyo. Ian.
Yes.
Another word.
Gamsahamnida.
Gamsahamnida. This one is actually 5 syllables. It sounds like 4, Gamsahamnida, because it slurs together. This is not the best example because the way you'll see it written is not necessarily the way you'll hear it, because it does just all squish together. So it's actually 5 syllables, Gamsahamnida. Okay? But that H again, so like I said, it'll just drop out. it'll all squish together. Gamsahamnida. Okay? Anyways, the first syllable, gam. Gam. Gam.
G-A-M.
Right, G-A-M. Okay? A is vertical. Okay? So we have the G and the A will split the top, and the M will fill the bottom. Okay? Gam. Next part, sa. Gamsa.
Yes.
Right? Sa, and then the vertical A. Okay, we've already seen this one in sarang. Okay? Gamsa. Hamnida. Hamnida.
H.
Right, so this one will be, this is actually, we're getting into a reading exception pretty quickly here. And it's good because it's one that you'll hear and see a lot. So it's great that we get into it now. Hamnida is what we hear. So what do you think that syllable is?
Ham.
Right, ham. Hum, right, is what it sounds like. Okay?
Give me some ham.
Okay, it sounds like this, hamnida. Okay, but it's not actually that, and I'll get into that in a second. That's the reading rule. Okay? But this part is right, okay? It's actually with a B in the bottom. Okay? Ha. Ha. Okay. And then the next syllable, ni. Hamni. Ni. Right? The N, and then the vertical E. Okay? Hamnida.
B-R.
Right, the D and the A. Okay. So again, hamnida. Okay, you can hear this is just a regular D. Okay, this before is the one I mentioned that has the soft and hard ground. When it's mixed in the middle, okay,
So,
it'll often just be a regular D. Okay. The reading rule, hamnida. We have a B here in the last character, and the next character is an N. Okay? The rule is when you have that situation, and that might seem kind of random, but it will actually happen a lot. This is a honorific conjugation of a hada verb. This is a type of verb, okay, to be thankful. This is the honorific conjugation, which we'll get into the last class of this course. We'll get into hada verbs. But these two just mix and push this to an M sound. Okay? And it's just for flow, really. It's just to make it easier to say quicker. Hamnida rather than hapnida. Hamnida. Okay? Gamsahamnida. Okay? But again, it sounds like Gamsahamnida. Okay? So here we have an A, and this H is very soft. So essentially we have an A and an A, which just squished down to one A. Okay? So essentially what we have is Gamsahamnida. Gamsahamnida. Okay? Alright, Gamsahamnida. Is that cool? Yes. Some more words that you know.
I'm going to say.
안녕하세요. Okay. First, let's see. 안녕하세요. First one. So we have 안녕. On. Right. On.
So the circle.
Right. The circle is the silent.
Ah.
Then the is vertical. We'll go next to it.
N.
And then the N in the bottom. Okay? On.
Circle again.
Actually, 안녕. Listen to that. 안녕. Okay, there's a little bit of stress comes out of that. There's a little bit of a hang up on the N. 안녕.
Keep going. N.
Well, there's actually, that'll mean there's two N's. And we haven't seen, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Next class, we'll get into double consonants. So the S, where I said the single S is quite light, they can have a double S together. And that will be a lot harder. Okay, that'll be quite more like our S, okay, a full heavy S. Same with the B, okay, the D's. We'll get into it next time, but the fact that this will have two N's back to back will just make a little bit of a hang up there. Okay, 안녕. Okay, 안녕. So the next part is 냥, 냥, 안녕.
The vertical double tick to the left.
Exactly, the yo, the yo. So the vertical double tick to the left. Yes, the yo. Okay. 안녕. And then the ng, okay, 안녕. So here is where 안녕, okay, this now, where this before has sounded like an O, we've heard yogyo, okay, these kind of things, yosu. Now it's going to sound a little bit more like a short U, young, okay, Y-U-N-G or Y-O-U-N-G, young, okay, in that case. 안녕 하세요. 안녕 하세요. Ha, exactly. And we've been seeing this ah character enough. Okay? Ha. 안녕하세요. 세. 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 What is 세?
This is the double vowel combination.
Right, this is another one of the vowel combinations, okay? So we have the S, and then we have, it'll actually be this combination. E, okay? The O-E. 세. And yo. Okay. 안녕하세요. Back to this one, just finishing up. 안녕. Everyone, 안녕.
Onion.
Okay, 안녕. It's got that little bit of, and that will create a little bit of generally Korean words, as we saw with Gamsahamnida. You just squish them, just no intonation. Gamsahamnida, just slur it. The more you slur it, honestly, the better your pronunciation will get. It'll take a while before you're that comfortable with the characters and the words to be able to do that, but it's sort of a goal for the future. Now, their stress is, they do have stress, certainly, but it's written. You can see when the stress is, okay? And this is one example, 안녕하세요. Okay, so this will have a bit of stress here, and then this part will just, okay, 안녕하세요. And the reason it can be even more contracted is this H, again, it's very soft, right? So just 안녕하세요. Okay? 안녕하세요, right. And, if you feel awkward doing that out there, no problem. Keep it slow. But I do remember after like a couple of years, I was almost taking the piss a little bit, but I just started walking in the store, 안녕하세요. And they honestly, I started people going like, wow, your pronunciation's really good. So I was like, all right, let's keep it going. But this will give a little bit of stress, the double consonant. Okay. Okay. Next word. I'm not sure whose turn it is. Pete.
I'm not sure I know anymore. Babo?
Babo. One of the first words you will learn in the classroom. Babo has two syllables. First word, first syllable.
Ba.
Ba. Okay. And the next one? Bo. Okay. So here we're seeing for the first time just two letters, but we have a horizontal left to right vowel. Okay. Babo. And they'll just split it top and bottom. Any others?
Backseju.
Backseju. This is one, okay, backseju. So backseju is the ginseng, yeah? It's the ginseng alcohol. Back means 100. Backseju. This is one that I've learned conversationally. I didn't study backseju in a book. Which means, I'll explain more when I get to it, but First, be. Be. Okay, be.
Okay.
The B, next.
Is it a combination?
Right, it's the combination A, okay? And then, be. We haven't got into the final sounds yet, but be, and then we have a G in the bottom, be. Okay? Be means 100. Okay? So my point of not studying in a book, Seiju, is this is one thing that, as a non-native Korean speaker, will always struggle with. Is it this one or is it this one? Because ultimately they basically sound the same. And I don't know. For Seiju, I'm not sure. My guess would be this one, but, I don't know. So if you really want to know the spelling of Seiju, just put an asterisk. Go check it out, okay? But it will be one of these. Se, okay, se. And then Ju.
A J in the...
A J, and then the U. Ju.
Okay.
Ju is on the end of a lot of alcohols. Okay. Yangju is whiskey, Mekju is beer, Soju. Okay, here's Soju. Okay. Does anyone know how to say, give me please?
Juseyo?
Juseyo. Okay. Okay, let's do Juseyo. Juseyo. Not very different from the last one, actually.
Spelling.
So the first one, Ju.
The J in the French sounding
Not the no, it'll be the U.
Okay, so T.
Ju. Okay. Again, this is horizontal, goes underneath, splits this half and half. Okay. Ju, se.
Same as the last say.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we have that combination, Ju, se, and we have yo. Okay, so you can say, anything. Oh, Juseo. Okay,
Let's just give me.
give me please. Yeah. Okay. And it is polite, but it is a command. It's not a, it translates to can I have one please. Okay, the seo is polite. It's a high form, but it is just a command, not a question. So you can say anything. Netchu Juseo. Give me beer, please. Okay? Whatever you're asking for. Momo Juseo. Okay? In a taxi, you can say the place you're going to, and then Kajuseo. Ka means to go. Kajuseo is take me there, please. Okay? Let's do Bali. Bali means quickly, fast.
What's Spanish?
It can also mean early in certain contexts. Bali. Bali. We haven't seen this yet, actually. Right, it's the B, but it is there's more of a stress on it, and we haven't seen this yet. We'll get into it next time, but it's the double B, okay? Bali. And this will count, in terms of our writing rules, this will count as one consonant. Okay? Think of it as one consonant. Bali. Bali. Right, and then Leo. And then how about the next one? Bali. Another Leo, because we have that L sound. Bali. Okay, it's a true L. Okay, here, my B's could be spaced a little bit better. Bali. Okay?